We're good.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Bill Sarwick. I'm a supervisor here in the Office of Apprenticeship. Um, my colleagues, Al Nixon, are here, who you've been working with on this Youth Transitions to Work grant over the last few years, well, last year, I guess. Um, and Heather Wilson is a new team member that we have who joined us just yesterday. So she is very new. So I'd like to welcome her to the team. She is going to be taking over at some point the review and approval of the activity and expenditure reports that get submitted on a monthly basis. You'll still be working closely with Al in reference to the grant specifically and any of the outcomes and stuff like that. But Heather will be working on those things, so I'd like to welcome her to the team and to these types of presentations because we do them often enough. We get to see each other a little bit here and there. So, first things first, as I said before, we are recording this session. We'll share the recording with you. We'll provide you guys with a copy of the PowerPoint, a copy of the Notice of Grant Opportunity, as well as this recording and a frequently asked questions document after the meeting. Probably sometime tomorrow you'll get it. Um, Ultimately, if you have any questions, please feel free to enter them into the chat or hold off until the end of the presentation, and I'll give you some time to unmute yourself and ask those questions. Please try and stay muted at all times. It just helps with the keeping the flow of the presentation, and it doesn't helps with no background sounds for the purposes of the recording. But at the end of the day, like I said, this is more informational. I'd like to be able to share with you guys the information needed for you to be able to get your applications up, running, and started, and move forward with you guys being able to get those applications submitted. So we'll get started here. So in March of 2018, the Governor Murphy announced the development of the Office of Apprenticeship and as well the creation of the New Jersey Apprenticeship Network, which all of you have been a part of now for many years. Our mission here is in the Office of Apprenticeship is to work closely with the USDOL to serve as a one-stop shop for employers, nonprofits, secondary and post-secondary institutions that are interested in developing apprenticeship opportunities. We look to support new and expand on existing pre-apprenticeship and USDOL registered apprenticeship programs in New Jersey and establish pre-apprenticeship and apprenticeship programs in non-traditional high-growth occupations and sectors. We also look to expand the New Jersey Apprenticeship Network to facilitate interactions between industry, educational institutions, training providers, and job seekers. We look to better align secondary, post-secondary adult education and occupational training programs to meet labor demands unique to New Jersey and to develop career pathways that lead to economically sustainable wages and help apprentices earn college credits, access to robust career counseling, and increase diversity and inclusion in apprenticeship programs. Finally, we look to remove economic barriers to training and upskilling through targeted investments like the Youth Transitions to Work program that specifically targets youth that are in and out of school. In a lot of cases in inner city situations where they may not have the funding to pay for the types of trainings that you guys offer and to allow for them to find those connections and those pathways into those registered apprenticeship programs upon completion. So the New Jersey Apprenticeship Network is it was developed to sustain talent pipelines by aligning pre-apprenticeship and apprenticeship programs with the needs of employers, training providers, and job seekers. We look to focus on driving economic development through skills and educational attainment, concentrating efforts on sector-focused, demand-driven training and education programs that lead to better paying careers, advanced credentials and skills attainment, and developing an ecosystem that provide multiple years of economic support to businesses and individuals for occupational skills training, leading to sustainable wages and upward mobility for workers, and increasing talent pipelines for employers. So for most of you, you already know what a registered apprenticeship program is, but the federal definition of a registered apprenticeship program is a program that is registered and approved by USDOL, and which provides classroom and on-the-job training in an occupation recognized as an apprenticeable trade and meets the program standards of enrollment and graduation under 29 CFRs 29.6. The components of a registered apprenticeship program are its employer industry involvement, related technical instruction, which is the classroom training, which a lot of you work closely with, sponsor employer, which is the on the job learning aspect, where we're trying to make these placements and allow for that on the job hours, those on the job hours to be met, the apprentice, and a progressive wage structure for skill gains upon those apprentices gaining skills and becoming more valuable to the employer. Currently, there are 8,670 active registered apprentices in New Jersey, 1,319 total registered programs in the state, and we've registered 708 new registered apprenticeship programs since January of 2018 when Governor Murphy took office, which is over 100% increase. So, as you can see, the investments made and the programs like yours have allowed for a pretty steady increase in how many programs exist out there as far as approved registered apprenticeship programs. But on top of that, the number of registered apprentices in the state of New Jersey. New Jersey's seen that we've hired 17,730 new apprentices since then, and issued 9,000 new industry recognized certifications of completion. Uh, According to data from the last quarter of 2017, the total apprentices has increased by 1,887 apprentices, which equates to a 28% net statewide increase. So it's been drastic, and it's been um, ultimately increasing on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. We actually research this data on a weekly basis, and I tell you, it changes every week, and it's always going up. So, when it comes to the Youth Transition to Work program, the purpose of the Youth Transition to Work program is to provide greater opportunities and incentives for high school juniors, seniors, and out of school youth ages 16 to 24 to facilitate effective transitions to high skill, high wage employment and labor demand apprenticeable occupations with long term career potential and opportunities for occupational relevant lifelong learning. The goals and objectives of the YTTW program are to link secondary education and higher education institutions to existing apprenticeship programs that are registered with the United States Department of Labor. We look to establish a pathway for participants of the program to enter apprenticeships in new occupations or industries that are currently not registered with USDOL or recently registered but not yet implemented. We look to increase employment opportunities for youth in existing or new apprenticeable industries and increase the number of high school graduates that are entering the apprenticeship programs in New Jersey. Create a high skilled workforce with increased availability of quality entry level youth workers. Help students establish a clear connection between learning and employment through work readiness, employment experience, career exploration, and mentoring. And provide recognition of registered apprenticeship as a key component of New Jersey's workforce readiness system. One of the things that I like to share is, I remember being in high school, and some of you, um, I'm sure, remember this as well. And you get done and you meet with your advisors, and it's always interesting when they give you what your next steps are. A lot of times, if you're not good in school, they say go get a job, or if you are decent in school, they say, well, college is an option for you. I want to see a time, I think, in my lifetime before I retire from this department. I think, hopefully. Um, where those same advisors are giving the option of registered apprenticeship as a third option. It's not just about those two options of go to school or get a job. It's really do both. Get a job and go to school. And I think that will be something that'll make me feel like something was accomplished from some of these programs. And I do think that is definitely doable. I think it's just changing the mindset of the K through 12 system and as a whole, but also changing the mindset of the residents of New Jersey. I mean, it's some parts of it, or even the parents not understanding that this is an option for their children. Um, and other times it's the children themselves not knowing that these types of programs, because it's not always as simple as saying, hey, the parents or the advisors are there. Not all the school districts have the advisors or have the qualified individuals to be able to provide this information to them, because not every school district is it works the exact same. But beyond that, then obviously there's not always a parent or or somebody who can provide them with this insight and this type of information. So I think that part of it for our programs like this are to really get the word out there about this kind of stuff. And I know that that's what you guys do. And I think that's why this program has been successful and continues to be funded, and in some cases increased in funding over the last few years. So. Program requirements and outcomes. So the program requirements are that we provide outreach sessions to expose students to registered apprenticeship and recruit participants. We collaborate with consortium partners to develop an applied and integrated curriculum. The program structure for accepted participants: we have a minimum of 60 hours of occupational specific training, 20 hours of workforce readiness training, and 10 hours of job shadowing experiences at training centers and or employer work sites. I know you guys could rattle this off better than I can, because those things haven't changed necessarily in a few years, but ultimately those are some of the requirements of the YTTW program. Outcomes: 80% of your participants must be placed into a USDOL registered apprenticeship program. Remaining students should receive job placement in a related trade. That job placement should be at a minimum of $16 per hour. That is increased just because of the minimum wage increases in New Jersey. We're above $15 an hour in New Jersey right now. Um, so those are the requirements. If applicable, issuance of credentials such as certifications, licenses, and/or college credits. So for any of those programs that certifications are available and issued to your participants, that would be also considered an outcome. Funding for this program in FY24 is expected to be $2 million, which is exactly what we were last year, and is contingent upon availability of funds. We're going to do an 18-month contract as we always do. Maximum cost per head cannot exceed $12,000. I know this says should not, it cannot exceed $12,000. Contract period is expected to be June 1st through November 2024 through November 30th, 2025. Allows for a continuation of service and ultimately ensures that you guys are ready to get started, hopefully with your first cohort probably come either in the summer or first thing September. Only current for FY23 YTTW grantee recipients are open to apply for this grant, so this is not competitive. It is a continuation grant. And the awarded applicants will have the administrative responsibilities included but not limited to archiving records, completing monthly reports, and attending required meetings. So you'll notice that these are recommendations. You can ask for less, you cannot ask for more. Ultimately, uh, this is the exact same breakdown as what you guys received last year, so it should be simple enough to know what you're doing. We are giving you the number that you served, or number that you were contracted to serve for FY23 on this slide. You can obviously increase that number, but it has to be within $12,000 per participant. So I believe these numbers all equate to $12,000 per participant, but I could be wrong. Either way, maximum $12,000 per participant. So the number served divided by the funding requested amount has to be 12,000 or less. Application process. So first steps, if you're considering applying, are that we already know you're an eligible entity, so we don't necessarily have to do that. This slide is generic. You should all have your authorized officials registered with IGX, but if you've had any change within your organization, please make sure that those individuals who are capable of signing off on your contracts have been registered in IGX, and if not, help them get that accomplished. I'll show you that process here in a few minutes. You need to submit your letter of intent via email. As of now, we've only received 2 letters of intent, so we're missing 4 and Al's going to post those in the chat right now, whose letters of intent are missing. Please get those submitted. That letter of intent it's a formality, but it's necessary for us to have it in order to be able to give you access to the application in IGX. We'll also provide you with the user guide at that point so that you can get started going in and completing your application. But please get those letter of intents in. I'll show you a screenshot of what the letter of intent will look like here in a minute. We will approve any new registrants. So if you have any new registrants in IGX, when you submit that letter of intent, please notify us and we'll go in and approve them. Otherwise, we'll send you an email telling you have access to the application and give you the user guide. Please make sure you're reaching out to the Division of Taxation to get your tax clearance certificates. The one that you have on file right now from last time applying with us is no longer going to be good. You're going to need a new one. It has to be dated within 6 months of the due date of the application. So applications due April 19th, I believe it is. Um, April 16th, I'm sorry. So it has to be dated within 6 months of April 16th. So if you do not currently have a tax clearance certificate from the Division of Taxation that's dated within 6 months of April 16th, please reach out to them and get a new uh, tax clearance certificate. It will need to be uploaded into IGX, and it is mandatory. Even if you were a prior recipient, if I don't get that tax clearance certificate, I'm not capable of providing funding. It is a state requirement. Okay. And all of you should be registered with NJ Start, but make sure that you have all of those accounts active with NJ Start and that you know which vendor ID number is the one you're going to be using. I'm sure nothing has changed, but you never know. Sometimes things change internally with organizations. Um, so just some pieces of information to keep in mind. This is a screenshot of what the letter of intent looks like. It's copied right out of the notice of grant opportunity. It's on page 18 of the notice grant opportunity. You can copy and paste it onto your letterhead. You'll have to enter the information that's in parentheses in the middle there, that's bolded, where your organization name goes and the industry occupation area that you're going to be training in. Please don't leave those with provide your organization's name. That would be kind of silly. You guys know your name. Um, and then provide us with the detail underneath. If you don't know your UEI number off the top of your head, not a big deal. You don't have to write it on there. We know we have them in the system because you're a grantee already. So that part shouldn't be a problem. But if anything changed on your UEI, you might want to update it here. Otherwise, get this signed off on by your authorized official, dated, and email it into apprenticeshipunit@dol.nj.gov. Do that as soon as possible so that we can give you access to the application. We will not give you access to the application until this has been submitted. So it just gives you less time to complete the application. I'd rather give you guys as much time as you need. So please get this in as soon as you can. Required documents of a proposal, or you're going to complete your applicant information page. Please make sure you read it so that you understand what information it's asking for. Counties to serve, consortium partners, list your consortium partners and provide us with uh, upload of your consortium partner agreement forms, previous funding. So obviously your FY23 grants and any previous grants that it asks for, summary of expected outcomes, a program narrative, occupational area and statement of need, uh, organizational commitment capacity, tax clearance certificate, budget summary and details, and miscellaneous attachments. Your miscellaneous attachments are not required. They're just a section that you can upload any additional attachments that you feel are necessary for explanation of your application. So the program narrative should describe the proposed YTTW program and clearly outline the following. It should outline your strategy for providing outreach sessions, including description of your partnerships, provide details on the interviewing and screening processes for accepting participants, as well as the anticipated number of students to be accepted. Explain how you'll work on developing the curriculum with consortium members, and curriculum should be uploaded in the miscellaneous attachment section of the application. Special consideration for applicants who deliver training leading to a credential. Um, Obviously, in this case, you could just provide us details on those credentials because there's no special consideration being given. You guys are the only applicants for these grants. Describe how the workforce readiness and occupation specific training will be conducted. Detail the plan for providing job shadowing experiences and how those experiences will align with the proposed curriculum, and provide projected placement outcomes, including the number of participants expected to complete, the number of participants to be placed in the registered apprenticeship or employment, and the breakdown of in-school versus out-of-school completers. Um, I know, we added out of school more recently, and a lot of you have concentrated most of your time on in school, and that's perfectly fine. Just make sure that you look at the breakdown of the 18 months and ensure that you don't limit yourselves by putting too many as in school and not enough as out of school, mainly because the out of school aren't restricted by the school year necessarily, where the in-school are restricted a little more in those ways. So just some things to take into consideration. I'd hate for you to be contracted to serve 50 and you're searching for in-school students um, at that point because you didn't set enough for out of school. At the end of the day, we want to make sure that you guys have the least resistance possible towards meeting your outcomes and meeting your goals. Your occupational area and need should have a maximum of 5 pages, and it should clearly state the occupation of focus. And if the occupation is on the USDOL approved list, I believe all of your occupations are currently, but if anybody's adding any occupations, you'll want to make sure you provide that detail. Demonstrate the need for the project in relation to the notice of grant opportunity. A need is defined as the difference between the current status and the outcomes that an applicant would like to achieve. And consider including demographic descriptions of your targeted area, labor market information, and any other research related to registered apprenticeship opportunities with employers or unions in your region. Your organizational commitment capacity should be a maximum of 10 pages, and it should describe any experience in administering similar workforce development programs and the organization's capacity to accomplish each of the following objectives. How your previous experience will be applied in this grant for program success, and what organizational supports are in place, and how your commitment as an organization will lead to success of the program. All applications are considered new applications and will be evaluated based on quality, comprehensiveness, completeness, accuracy, and appropriateness to the NGO. It's a competitive process, not necessarily, but ultimately you do have to follow the process and complete your application, get it submitted, and make sure that it's appropriately meeting the requirements of the grant so that you guys can be considered for funding. And applications are reviewed by a selection committee using a pre-established set of requirements. There is detail within the notice of grant opportunity on what those pre-established sets of requirements are. We don't tell you exactly what it is that we score based on, but it does give you a basic understanding of what that is. For those of you who have new people that need to register with IGX, if you have any of them, they'll log into the njdol.intelligrants.com web address and click New User under the Login button. Complete this new user registration form and enter YTTW in the box at the bottom. Then they'll click Register. Once they click Register, they should either you should either notify us when you submit your letter of intent, or if your of intent's already been submitted, email apprenticeshipunit@dol.nj.gov and let us know that this person is now registered and needs to be approved and added to your organization. We can do that at any time, so it doesn't have to be done today or tomorrow. It can be done 6 months into your grant period. But once you add a new user, you need to let us know so that we can add them to your organization into your application. Once registered, or for those of you who are already registered, you'll log into the website by putting in your username and password and clicking the login button. If for some reason you forget your password, reach out to us at the apprenticeship unit at dol.nj.gov and we will update your password. When you log in, it'll bring you to your dashboard page. First thing you're going to need to do is search for the opportunity. Remember, you can't do any of this until you've submitted your letter of intent. So get all of those letter of intents in. You'll click on filter. That'll bring up a search under filter. You'll choose New Jersey Department of Labor and Workforce Development as the drop down under provider and type YTTW in name. Click search, and under my opportunities, you'll see Youth Transitions to Work Grant Program 2024. You click on that hyperlink under name in blue, and it'll bring you to an agree page where you will say that yes, you agree, you want to start a new application. Click agree, and it'll bring you into your application so you can start working on completing it. If for some reason, once you've created it, you know you don't have time to start working on it, that's fine. When you log back in, it'll show up on your dashboard under My Tasks. You'll see it listed under My Tasks with the name starting at YTTW-FY 2024. You'll click on that hyperlink under name and it'll bring you into the application so you can continue to work on it at any time. It'll show up there until you submit your application, so you should be all set. Once you're ready to start working on your application, this is what it'll look like. When you log into it, you'll start at a document landing page. You'll see all the pages that need to be completed here on the left-hand side under Forms. They'll have boxes that are empty next to them if they haven't been started or completed yet. If there's an error on the page, there'll be an exclamation point in that box. If the page is completed with no errors, there'll be a check mark in that box. You do not have to do them in any specific order. You can bounce around and do them in any order that you wish, but ultimately you need to complete all of the pages here. The only page that's not mandatory here is the miscellaneous attachments page, but we do ask that you upload your curriculums on the miscellaneous attachments. Sometimes you may have a schedule A, B, or C that is not mandatory. If you don't have any personnel costs or any no non-personnel cost or any direct services. The likelihood of you having no personnel costs or no direct services is probably pretty small, but ultimately if you don't have any costs there, you can those may have a blank box next to it. You do not have to go to the page and save it with nothing on it if you don't have anything to go on that page. But those are the only pages that aren't mandatory and don't require you to add data to them. Once you've completed all of the pages, excuse me, once you've completed all the pages and you're ready to move forward with your application, you'll then scroll down on that same menu where you saw the application forms and find the tools section. Under there, you'll find document validation. You'll click that document validation page, and what it'll do is check all the pages to make sure there's no errors on them. If there are errors, it'll list them in there. If not, it'll tell you that you're good to go. If there's errors there, you have to click on each one of them and go back to the pages and correct the errors and save the pages. Once you've corrected all the errors and when you do a document validation, nothing shows up, you are ready to submit your application by scrolling all the way down to the bottom under status options and clicking application submitted. When you do that, this box will pop up asking if you're sure that you want to change the status. You'll click OK, and that will submit your application to us for review. You do not at that point have to do anything further until you hear from us. But ultimately, you can reach out to us at apprenticeshipunit@dol.nj.gov if you want confirmation that the application was submitted appropriately. We can't tell you or change anything about your application, but we can let you know that it's been received by us at that point. Some important dates for you to keep in mind. Noon, April 9th is the due date for your letters of intent. Hopefully, you'll get them in sooner rather than later. Noon, April 16th is the due date for your applications. It is a Tuesday. I know you're used to us doing these things on Fridays, but with a June 1st start date, we want to make sure we give ourselves enough time to get everything reviewed, approved, uh, and signed off on internally here so that we can get you guys starting right away and we don't have a layover in service provision. So noon, April 16th is the due date of the application. Please do your best to get them in by that time. I don't anticipate extending anybody, and ultimately we would like to try and stick to that time frame. Final decisions on awards will be communicated to the applicant following approval of the recommendations from our executive review team, which is our commissioner's office and all of them. That stuff usually happens within about a 45-day period, so you should hear something from us by mid to late May, informing you of the approval or denial of your application. So those are our next steps. So our New Jersey Office of Apprenticeship, some contact information. James Manning is the director here in our Office of Apprenticeship and Work-Based Learning. Myself, Bill Sarwick, I'm the supervisor of all grants here. And for any general inquiries, you can reach out to us at the apprenticeship unit at dol.nj.gov. I would suggest that you email apprenticeship unit at dol.nj.gov for almost anything because it comes to all of us at once rather than emailing one individual and having to check and make sure they left an away message if they're not in for some reason. It's usually the easiest way to get a response timely. With that, I'd like to open it up, make sure there's no questions, give you guys the ability to unmute if you need to. First, I'll start by checking in the chat and seeing if anybody typed any questions in there.
Yeah, I covered the one that was in there, Jim. Or Bill, sorry.
Great. So yeah, I don't see any other questions that was specific to the LOI. Anybody have, Greg, I see you have your hand raised. Please feel free to unmute yourself.
Thank you, Bill. As I had last time, it seems like I'm having a problem getting that tax clearance certificate. Is there a trick to this? Is there, because we've been sending emails and no response to Ms. Moore, who apparently runs
So,
the,
no, there's not really a trick to it. I would say your biggest problem is probably you guys have had a lot of name changes and FEIN changes over the years, and a lot of times that kind of throws hiccups into these types of things. Um, I'm not saying that it should take that long. Unfortunately, we don't necessarily have much to do with taxation. They're under Treasury. Um, I would, if you don't get anything through the email, maybe if there's an 800 number that you can call, you can check in that way. Um, Other than that, I don't have any specific email addresses. All the email addresses that we have and all the information is all generic emails, not to specific persons. So you may want to email the generic email. It could be similar to us where you get it out to multiple people at one time, and it might not take as long because you're not just waiting for that one person to respond. I don't know Ms. Moore and what her workload is or what her even specialty is there at Treasury or taxation. So I would definitely, if she's moved on and is doing different work, if she's not organized enough to be forwarding those emails to the appropriate people, your email could just be hitting. She could be hitting delete. For all I know, you know what I mean. I don't know her at all. I would definitely. Let me go back to the. So on the slide itself, there's a link to taxation, which I'm going to pull over so you can see what comes up. So here's a phone number if you need assistance. So
I see it.
here's the generic email address as well.
Give me 1 second.
Yeah. No, I'm not taking it away from you, but like I said, those things I always suggest that you do the generic stuff. It seems like that would be least effective, but nowadays with there being these emails are created because it goes to a team of people rather than one person, and the team is faster than one person always. I don't care what they say, um, unless you find somebody who's really good at their job.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Keep us posted though, Greg, if you keep having issues.
I will, Bill.
Well,
Thanks.
no problem. Anybody else have any questions? Have any concerns?
Can I say something, Bill?
Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to remind everybody that I know I sent an email out about it already. Just on your final few reports for the year that we're currently doing, make sure that all of your outcomes are up to date, because when we're looking at the applications, we're going to be looking at your current program also. And if it's not there, you're not going to get credit for it. So if you need a little extra time on the report to do it, just let me know. That's fine. But we need to get it up to date.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. I'm sure you intend to get it all updated before the end of the grant period, but uh, we would much prefer to have that stuff updated as timely as possible. It really allows for us to not be worried about whether or not you're going to meet your outcomes, and it allows for us to not, one, bother you with questions about it, and two, to ensure that you don't get deducted points, all of our notice of grant opportunities actually now have the ability for us to add points to those applicants who have had good performance and to reduce points from applicants if they've had bad past performance. So you want to make sure that your records are going to show your performance where it really is. You know, I don't want you to submit in your application that you have, 30 youth that you've placed in the registered apprenticeship, but in the system it shows 0. That's not going to positively, um, it's not going to be looked upon positively when by a panel member, especially, or somebody who's looking at things to make a determination. And that adding and subtracting of points it's 15 points. We can increase you or decrease you by up to 15 points. So it's a good amount of points. So just keep that all in mind when it comes to keeping your data up to date. And if you have any questions on how to make sure that's done, please reach out to Al. He would be happy to show you where that data is collected and how to enter that data if you're struggling. You can find out where you're at by looking at your dashboard pages of your most recently submitted activity reports. That'll show you what your outcomes are. It's at the bottom, all the way at the bottom, you'll see a number next to each one of the outcomes. So if the number doesn't match what your records show, check into it and even check with Al and see why that reasoning is. I saw you had your head count, Carolyn. Please unmute if you want, or you can chat, whichever you prefer. You're still muted, unfortunately. Still muted. Let me see if I can unmute you. I can't. You're still muted, Carolyn. I don't know what's wrong. You should have like a microphone that you could click on or hit Control-Shift-M. See if that unmutes you. There you go. Now you should be able to talk. Oh, it says you're unmuted, but I still can't hear you. You might not have your... Do you have like headphones plugged in or something?
No, can you hear me
now
now?
I hear. Now I hear you.
There it is. That was weird. If we were to hire somebody to assist the director on the presentations or testing or the site visits, if when needed, how would we put that person in? Would we put it in as another, just in
In personnel?
under
Yeah, you'd add them
regular
in
salary?
personnel. You'd add them in personnel as to be determined, but you would put the title in which you would be hiring for. So if
Okay.
whatever you were going to call them as their title, and then in their name, first and last name, you can just put TBD, and then you would just enter the salary amounts and fringe amounts that you would anticipate would be you're looking to hire them at.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. Anybody else? Okay. Well, with that, I will give you guys the rest of your day back. We'll be in touch here shortly. Once you guys get those letter of intents in, we'll get out the user guides and get you access to the applications. If you guys need anything, please feel free to reach out to us, apprenticeshipunit@dol.nj.gov. I will be out on vacation starting Thursday, and I won't be back until the 8th, April 8th. So if you need anything specifically from us, please don't email me directly. Email the apprenticeship unit at dol.nj.gov so that I can make sure you guys get responses quickly. I will be trying to keep an eye on my email, but I just don't want you to be waiting up on me. I'd rather you guys, I will have an away message. You can email the apprenticeship unit at dol.nj.gov email address. It comes to me as well. So we'll get back to you. Otherwise, thank you guys all so much for participating and being here today. And we'll be in touch here shortly.
Thank you.
Have a
care.
good day.
Thank you.
Nice seeing everybody. You stop the recording now.
Oh, yeah. First time I've done that.